Welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your number one resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. Last week, we covered a $3,000 VR headset that will likely blow your socks off, but today we've got some great and some not so great news for the typical VR consumer that we'll get into in just a second, and a dedicated VR sports league that may be coming to your school before you know it, and you might be able to help with that. But first, I want to announce something super special. I've been using VRCOVER for a long time now. It's one of the first mods I ever used on a VR headset, and they recently reached out for a collaboration, so here's the fruit of our labor. This is the ThrillSeeker edition VRCOVER in classic pink, my favorite color. I do want to say this is a super limited edition run. There's only about 450 of them, and right now you can only get it through the link in the pinned comment. I also have one special one that I have right here, and I'm giving it away, and it's going to be signed by me as something very special for the channel to someone very special. All you have to do to be entered is join up in my Discord server and join in for my Twitch stream later today. That's where I'll be giving it away. A good friend of the channel, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis, also has a cover available in his channel styling in case you like blue over pink, but either way, I hope you love them as much as I do. We worked hard on this, and as exciting as that all was, what happened this week in VR is even more exciting. So let's just get right into the news. Before we get into the good, let me just get the bad news out of the way. Google was one of the very first companies to join into the VR race back in 2016 and 2017 with the Google Cardboard and Daydream. And as much crap as the Cardboard and other phone-based VR got, and for good reason, you do have to admit that for the time, it was an incredibly cheap way to get at least some form of VR, even if it wasn't great. Android had full VR support, and it seemed that Google was going to be a driving force in the VR industry. Even for other, more capable VR headsets, they developed great art software and provided frequent updates, but as we know, Daydream and Cardboard have been practically discontinued and lost support, and Android has lost VR support now. Google's been slowly pulling out of the VR space, and that's become more evident this week as Google announced it will be shutting down Poly, the platform for sharing art assets between all of Google's VR art software like Tiltbrush, Blocks, and others. This has been a major stab to the VR community, as a lot of artists legit depend on that Google service to move around and share their assets and artwork, and there just simply is not an alternative right now. This is what Rosie Summers, a UK-based artist, had to say, quote, "Poly is the center point of the VR artist community. So many creators rely on the site as an easy way to share and promote their works with their audiences," end quote. Currently, the community is asking Google to make Poly open source rather than shut it down, which would at least allow the service to continue in some capacity. But now, on to the good. Developer of Metro Exodus 4A seems to be developing a VR game. Of course, nothing is really confirmed, but a recent job posting by the studio seems to point in that direction, looking for programmers with Oculus Rift/VR experience. The studio has launched a VR game before, Arctica 1, all the way back in 2017, but VR was a very different place back then, and I can only imagine a Metro series game in VR. Kind of seems like the series was made for it in a way, and the studio has talked about launching a brand new IP, but they also stated that they're not ready to talk about it yet. So, two huge things this week regarding the Quest and Quest 2. One is a giant boost in performance, and the other is something both great for VR, but also a little terrifying for the entire industry. Let's talk about that performance boost first. So if there's one thing I've been massively impressed with Oculus and the Quest and Quest 2, it's how much the headset has improved over time. Back at the original Quest launch in early 2019, the headset was pretty limited, to be honest. It couldn't connect to a PC, lacked the hand tracking it has now, and even something like the tracking was worse. But over time, small updates have massively improved the headset, and that's from performance gains through software, Oculus Link being added, hand tracking, etc. But another big update is coming, and it's just making the platform better. To put simply, the Quest 2 especially actually has a problem where applications can finish rendering their frames earlier than planned, meaning there's essentially a buffer in a lot of applications that adds unnecessary latency to everything you do do within the application or game. This can also be why some games just feel a little off on the Quest and Quest 2 compared to PC VR at least. But the difference is hard to exactly put your finger on why that is. So this phase sync is a far more efficient method of rendering frames on the headset and can massively cut down on latency, as much as 10 milliseconds on the Quest 2 and 8 milliseconds on the Quest. So far, this feature has already been integrated into Unity and the Unreal SDK, and is available to developers to implement into their games and apps right now. So you may see some very good performance and game quality improvements coming to a lot of games really soon. This also can really improve hand tracking latency as well. 10 milliseconds of boost is nothing to scoff at when you're talking about responsiveness in VR. It's going to really change how games feel, and it's a pretty big upgrade for the Quest, to be honest. And the second thing, VR is in an incredible spot right now. Steam VR users now account for 1.91% of all Steam versus the 1.76% just last month. That's a huge bump, and most of it has to do with the Quest 2 launch. The Quest category seeing a large bump of 5.5% user gain, one of the largest month-over-month jumps in VR history. And in case you're about to comment about 0.2% of an increase of VR users for Steam seeming small, I want you to remember there are tens of millions of Steam users, so 0.2% is a lot of people. So that was all good, but now for a little bit of a scary part. I have covered before that Oculus has a majority market share of PC VR headsets, but that number just keeps getting larger and the gap gets bigger, now accounting for 53% of the entire market on Steam. This is what the graph looks like. So yeah, Facebook has pretty good control over hardware and VR. The Quest/Quest 2 actually now make up more PC VR headsets on Steam VR than Valve's own Valve Index. But that's understandable. The Index is $1,000 and more limited, while the Quest 2 is only $300. Still, I can't help but just feel like I want some more competition, and I want it fast. I don't see too much on the horizon either, besides maybe the Deca gear, but I don't know much about that yet. Not to mention, Facebook may control the majority market share of PC VR headsets on Steam, but they also have 100% control over standalone VR in the consumer segment, which I don't think people realize enough. I am very happy for the growth of VR, and the Quest 2 is a great headset, but Facebook needs some competition before this gets out of hand, if it's not already out of hand. But now it's time for a meme break! Me. Mom, can I get a VR headset for Christmas? Mom, we have a VR goggle at home. VR at home. Wait, what the even is this thing? Are those coconuts on our eyes? What the? Wish is a weird place. But now, back to the news. I am a huge fan of bringing VR to schools. I think with proper implementation of VR, the textbook could be a thing of the past. Why force people to read about something when you can experience it for yourself in VR? And while I do kind of want the VR school system that's in something like Ready Player One to become real, we're not quite there yet, nor do I think we're ready for something like that as a society. However, the one thing I really did love about school was sports. Sports and video games were my life back when I was in school. And right now during COVID, unfortunately, a lot of sports leagues around the world are just shut down, which is understandable. Now, here's the thing. You like doing sports, but you also like gaming and VR, and you're in school. What about a VR sports league for school? This is a thing that is actually happening right now, and believe it or not, you can actually make it happen for your school too, possibly. This is the High School Heroes Esports League, currently exclusive to Title I schools, starting with a tournament in late January taking place within Echo Arena. It's free for schools to participate and maybe even get free hardware for the VR athletes to use for training and tournament purposes. Here's what Outrun Digital, the startup organizing this league, had to say regarding it. Quote, "With COVID-19 restrictions, our tournament will provide a safe environment to compete at home, as well as incentivize students to engage much more academically and promote school spirit through friendly competition. The winning team and school will be rewarded cash prizes and free headsets." End quote. The High School Heroes Esports League has funding and support from the Draper Hero Institute and is currently looking for more schools to participate. And you can actually help in that if you want your school to take part. On their website, there are forms that you can give to your administration or your child's administration to apply to take place in this thing. Like I said, I love sports, I love VR, and this is a great way to keep people active, enjoying VR, and entertained, which is something that you can't take for granted nowadays. All the links that you need will be in the description. Wacom, one of the leading art tablet companies, has announced a VR pen for creatives within VR. It's essentially a pressure-sensitive pen used for drawing or painting or whatever you need. The interesting thing is that Wacom is using their very own tracking technology for the device. It's not using the inside-out tracking on a Quest or lasers from base stations, and I can only assume that this is to make it universally compatible with all headsets regardless of the tracking method used on the headset. The pen isn't quite out yet as Wacom is still looking for partners, but other than VR artists, I'm curious to see how Mick Osu works with a tablet pen in VR. Interesting. But now it's time for question of the week from Faisal Sakihi. Sorry if I neutered that. Do you think you will ever have more regular content like Tuesday Newsday anytime soon? Monday Fun Day, where you play a game, just as a suggestion. So I would love to add more weekly content that people know to expect from me. I love Tuesday Newsdays, I love the format, and while it's constantly changing, I feel very lucky that people like watching it and I like making it. I do have other series like Virtually Odd, and of course I review all sorts of hardware all the time. And if you haven't seen Virtually Odd, you're seriously missing out. But yeah, I'd love to add more weekly content, but I do have a second channel for gaming stuff in case you want to check that out as well. I think next year I'm going to be experimenting a lot with adding more weekly content to this channel, so just make sure you stay tuned. And that's question of the week. Make sure to leave your own below in the comment section. I may just answer yours next. Also, you guys should check out my second channel like I mentioned earlier. I've been posting some pretty funny gameplay videos over there weekly, and I would love for that channel to do well as well. The most recent one was Among Us in VR chat, and we just had an absolutely crazy time. So go on over there and check it out. I appreciate it more than anything. And don't forget about the signed VR cover that I'm giving away on Twitch today. All you have to do is join my Discord server and watch the stream, and you're eligible to win it. And don't snooze on the special edition VR cover. Like I said, there's only 450 of them, so they might go fast. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas like Furtrap, love you by the way Fizzy, Lucas Risotto, CPCJ79, Chaotic, Dented Melon, KR, That Brock Guy, HCG Randon, Benji, Ronzarelli, Biz, Fusion Oak, Very Evil Shadow, and Debonair Fab. I couldn't do any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.